Have you ever wondered why some people come alive in a crowded room while others seem to find their power in silence? Why one person seeks the thrill of new experiences and another treasures the quiet corners of life? Beneath these differences lies a deeper truth, a blueprint of the human soul, first mapped by Carl Jung, one of psychology's greatest minds. Jung didn't just see personality as behavior, he saw it as the movement of energy, shaping how we connect, think, and find meaning in the world. In every conversation you have, in every decision you make, this hidden force is at work, guiding you toward either the vibrant call of the external world or the rich, mysterious landscape within. Today, we dive into the real-life meaning of Jung's personality types, and you might just discover parts of yourself you've never seen before. When was the last time you really asked yourself, "Who am I deep down?" We often describe ourselves quickly, "I'm shy" or "I'm outgoing," but what if those labels only scratch the surface? Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant minds in psychology, believed that our personalities are not just random or surface-level habits. They are deeply wired patterns that shape how we see the world, how we recharge, and even how we make decisions. Today, many of us hear the terms introvert and extrovert casually thrown around, almost like fashion trends. But in reality, these words have a far deeper, richer meaning, and understanding them can unlock powerful insights about ourselves. Imagine you're at a party. Some people are naturally energized by the music, the laughter, the conversations. They feel alive in the buzz of social connection. Others, however, start to feel drained after a while, craving a moment alone, needing to escape into a quiet corner. It's not because they are awkward or antisocial. Jung taught that it's because their psychological energy flows differently. Introversion and extroversion aren't choices we make. They are essential parts of our inner wiring, shaping our reactions long before we even realize it. Jung introduced the idea that introversion and extroversion are about how we direct our energy. An introvert's energy flows inward. They feel most alive and recharged when reflecting, imagining, and enjoying solitude. An extrovert's energy flows outward. They come to life through interaction, activity, and engagement with the outside world. Notice that it's not about being loud or quiet. A talkative person could still be an introvert if they draw their strength from their inner world. Similarly, a quiet person could be an extrovert if they find energy in social settings but choose to speak less. In modern times, these terms are often misunderstood. People might think an introvert is shy or an extrovert is loud, but Jung made it clear, it's not about behavior, it's about energy and orientation of consciousness. That means two people could behave the same way at a party, but be motivated by completely different internal processes. There's a deep beauty in realizing that neither type is better or worse. Our world needs both. Extroverts drive social change, energize teams, and keep society buzzing with innovation. Introverts deepen reflection, nurture ideas quietly, and anchor society with profound inner wisdom. Understanding where you naturally fall on this spectrum can be life-changing. Instead of forcing yourself into roles that exhaust you, you can start building a life that flows with your natural strengths. Jung also emphasized that no one is 100% introvert or 100% extrovert. We all have both sides within us. He said if someone is fully one-sided, they are unhealthy or extreme. Healthy personality development, according to Jung, comes from acknowledging our dominant side while also developing the opposite side to stay balanced. It's like being right-handed, but learning to use your left hand enough that you're flexible and adaptable when needed. Think about your daily life. Do you feel more energized after a deep conversation with yourself? Journaling, thinking, or daydreaming? Or do you feel most alive when you are sharing experiences with others? laughing, collaborating, and moving with the crowd. It's subtle, but understanding this natural leaning can be the key to unlocking authentic happiness and success. What makes this even more fascinating is that Jung believed we are usually born with our introverted or extroverted nature. It's not something society teaches us, or something we just pick up as habits. Our temperament shapes our path from the very beginning, how we choose friends, careers, hobbies, even how we experience love and conflict. If you've ever wondered why certain environments exhaust you while others light you up, Jung's theories offer a profound explanation. Your energy flow determines your core comfort zone. But perhaps the most powerful insight Jung gave us is this: no matter what our type, the journey towards self-knowledge requires honesty. Many people misunderstand their own type because they are pressured by the world around them. An introvert might force themselves to be a party animal to fit in. An extrovert might withdraw to appear more serious or deep. But when we betray our true nature, we create inner conflict, stress, and even unhappiness. Jung believed that the key to living a fulfilled life is to recognize and honor our true type, and then grow beyond it without rejecting it. So the next time you find yourself wondering whether you're really who you think you are, pause. Listen. Not to what the world expects of you, but to where your energy flows most naturally. That's where the truth begins. Carl Jung's idea of personality types was nothing short of revolutionary. At a time when most psychologists focused on mental illness, Jung took a bold step. He wasn't just interested in what goes wrong in the human mind. He wanted to understand how healthy minds work, how people differ from one another, and why those differences matter. His theory of psychological types wasn't just a new concept. It completely changed how we understand human behavior even today. Jung proposed that our differences are not mistakes or flaws. They are natural, predictable patterns of behavior and energy that exist within all of us. According to Jung, people perceive the world and make decisions based on two different kinds of psychological attitudes: introversion and extroversion. These two attitudes describe where our attention and energy are primarily directed, either inward toward the inner world of thoughts and feelings, or outward toward people and activities in the external world. But Jung didn't stop there. He introduced another powerful layer: the psychological functions. He identified four main ways people gather information and make decisions. These were divided into two categories: ways of perceiving, sensing, and intuition, and ways of judging, thinking, and feeling. Each person, Jung believed, has a dominant function that shapes their approach to life. Sensing types focus on facts, details, and practical realities. They trust their five senses and prefer things that are tangible and proven. Intuitive types, by contrast, look for patterns, meanings, and future possibilities. They are less concerned with what is and more excited about what could be. On the other hand, thinking types make decisions based on logic, objectivity, and consistency. They prioritize truth and fairness over personal emotions. Feeling types, however, make decisions by considering values, empathy, and the impact on people's feelings. By combining these attitudes, introversion and extroversion, with the four functions, sensing, intuition, thinking, and feeling, Jung laid the foundation for a complex and rich understanding of personality. Every individual, he suggested, has a unique psychological blueprint, a combination of attitude and dominant function that influences their behavior, relationships, and even the way they experience life itself. One of the most important parts of Jung's theory is that he believed people are not completely conscious of their type. In fact, we often only become aware of it through reflection, conflict, or personal growth. Many people live their lives out of balance, overusing their dominant function and neglecting the others. Jung thought that true psychological development comes from embracing and strengthening our weaker functions, becoming more whole and balanced individuals. Interestingly, Jung's theory wasn't built from laboratory experiments or surveys. Instead, he based it on deep observation, clinical experience, and intense self-reflection. He noticed patterns among his patients, his friends, and even historical figures. Over time, these observations crystallized into the framework we now recognize as the basis for modern personality typing systems, such as the famous Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI, which directly evolved from Jung's work. Jung's approach also emphasized that no type is better than another. Every type has strengths and weaknesses. For example, a person who is an extroverted thinker might be highly efficient at organizing projects but might struggle with understanding emotional needs. Meanwhile, an introverted feeler might be deeply empathetic but find it difficult to enforce strict deadlines. Jung's vision was not about labeling people to limit them, but about helping them understand themselves better so they could grow beyond their unconscious patterns. Another key idea from Jung's theory is the concept of individuation, the process of becoming fully oneself. Individuation involves recognizing the parts of your personality that you tend to ignore or suppress, and gradually integrating them into a balanced self. Understanding your personality type is the first step on this journey. By knowing whether you lean toward introversion or extroversion, sensing or intuition, thinking or feeling, you gain a powerful tool for self-awareness and transformation. Jung also made it clear that personality is not static, it evolves over time. A person might start life as a strong extrovert, but slowly develop a richer inner life as they mature. Or an intuitive dreamer might gradually learn to value practical details as they gain life experience. The beauty of Jung's model is its flexibility. It honors both our natural inclinations and our potential for growth. In today's world, understanding Jung's revolutionary idea of personality types can be more important than ever. In a society that often tries to push everyone into the same mold, knowing your true type allows you to step confidently. To truly understand what makes an introvert, according to Carl Jung, we must first leave behind the shallow stereotypes. Introversion, in Jung's view, is not about being shy, antisocial, or awkward. It is something much deeper and more meaningful. Jung defined introversion as a fundamental way of directing psychic energy inward, toward one's own thoughts, feelings, and ideas. It is an attitude of reflection rather than reaction. An introvert is someone whose dominant orientation is the inner world. They are naturally drawn to ideas, memories, imagination, and private experiences. This does not mean that introverts dislike people. In fact, many introverts enjoy meaningful relationships and deep conversations. However, they become drained if they spend too much time focusing on external activities. Their energy is replenished when they turn inward, finding strength in solitude, contemplation, and self-discovery. Jung described introversion as a protective movement of energy. Instead of scattering attention outward to events and social interactions, the introvert gathers it inward to process and understand. This inward focus gives introverts their unique sensitivity and depth. They are often able to notice patterns that others miss, connect ideas creatively, and feel deeply connected to their inner truths. One key trait of introversion in Jung's theory is caution. Introverts naturally pause before acting. They prefer to observe, think, and understand before making a move. This does not come from fear, but from a strong preference for depth over speed. They are less interested in chasing external rewards and more interested in personal meaning and authenticity. Jung believed that this inward turning helps introverts maintain their independence from the overwhelming noise of the outside world. Introversion also influences how information is processed. For an introvert, new experiences are not immediately expressed outwardly. Instead, they are absorbed and analyzed privately. An introvert might leave a lively conversation, go home, and only days later fully realize what they felt about it. This slow, rich processing of experiences is what gives introverts their reflective nature. Another important point Jung made is that introversion is not a matter of preference or conscious choice. It is an innate psychological tendency. Just as a plant turns naturally toward the light, an introvert's energy moves naturally toward the inner life. Trying to force an introvert to behave like an extrovert, Jung warned, can cause anxiety, exhaustion, and even neurosis. In his clinical work, he saw how misunderstanding or rejecting one's natural introversion led to deep inner conflict. Introverts often have a rich fantasy life. They are more in touch with their dreams, emotions, and imaginations. Jung saw this as a great gift. He believed that introverts have unique access to the unconscious mind, the hidden part of our psyche where creativity, intuition, and deep wisdom reside. By turning inward, introverts are able to explore these inner landscapes and bring back insights that enrich their lives and the lives of others. However, Jung also noted that introversion has its dangers if it becomes extreme. If an introvert becomes too absorbed in their inner world, they can lose touch with reality, becoming isolated or overly withdrawn. Healthy introversion, according to Jung, involves a balance between the inner and outer worlds. It's about maintaining a strong connection to one's own thoughts and feelings without completely cutting off from external life. In relationships, introverts tend to value depth over breadth. They prefer a few close, meaningful connections rather than a wide network of acquaintances. They are often seen as excellent listeners, thoughtful partners, and loyal friends. But they also need space and time alone to recharge, and misunderstanding this need can sometimes cause friction with more extroverted companions. In work and creativity, introverts often excel at tasks that require focus, deep thinking, and independence. They are natural researchers, writers, artists, philosophers, and problem solvers. Their ability to concentrate deeply and think critically allows them to produce work of great quality and originality. Jung's view of introversion teaches us that being inward-focused is not a flaw to fix, but a gift to understand and nurture. In a world that often celebrates constant action, noise, and external achievement, introverts bring balance by reminding us of the value of quietness, reflection, and authenticity. They show us that true strength often comes not from shouting the loudest, but from listening the deepest first to ourselves, and then to the world. Understanding what makes an introvert is not just about recognizing behaviors. It is about appreciating an entire way of being a rich, thoughtful, and profound engagement with life from the inside out. When Carl Jung described the extrovert, he wasn't thinking about someone who is simply loud, outgoing, or the center of attention. In fact, his explanation goes much deeper. Jung's idea of extroversion is about how a person's energy naturally flows toward the outer world. For an extrovert, the outside environment, people, activities, experiences is the primary source of excitement, meaning, and energy. Extroverts, according to Jung, are naturally oriented toward external objects and events. They focus their attention outward rather than inward. Their thoughts, feelings, and actions are strongly influenced by what is happening around them. Where an introvert looks inward for understanding, an extrovert seeks understanding through interaction with the outside world. Their connection to life is active, lively, and engaged with what is real, visible, and happening in the present moment. One of the clearest signs of extroversion is the way extroverts gain energy. While introverts recharge in solitude, extroverts feel most alive when they are with other people, participating in events or tackling challenges in the real world. Their energy increases with activity. Spending long periods alone can drain them, making them restless or even anxious. They need the stimulation of the external environment to stay energized and motivated. Jung emphasized that extroverts trust what they can see, hear, and touch. They are often practical, action-oriented, and focused on achieving results in the external world. They are more comfortable dealing with facts and external realities than with abstract ideas or hidden emotions. This doesn't mean that extroverts can't think deeply or feel deeply. It simply means that their first instinct is to move outward, to interact, act, and engage. In decision-making, extroverts tend to be quick and confident. They are often seen as natural leaders because they are willing to step into situations, take charge, and respond to immediate needs. They value quick feedback from their environment, whether it's through conversation, competition, or teamwork. This outward energy often gives extroverts a dynamic and sometimes charismatic presence that draws others to them. Jung also pointed out that extroversion is not simply a personality choice. It is an inborn psychological attitude that shapes how a person experiences life from the very beginning. Just like introversion, it is not something learned. It is something deeply rooted in the core of a person's being. Forcing an extrovert to behave like an introvert, constantly isolated, thinking too much without action, can cause frustration, low energy, and emotional stress. Another key feature of extroversion is adaptability. Extroverts are usually quick to adjust to changing situations. They enjoy new experiences, meeting new people, and discovering new environments. Their curiosity about the world drives them forward. They are more likely to experiment, take risks, and jump into opportunities, trusting that they will figure things out as they go. Jung believed this ability to adapt is one of the great strengths of the extroverted attitude. However, Jung also warned that unchecked extroversion can have its dangers. If an extrovert becomes too absorbed in external activities and forgets to reflect inwardly, they risk losing touch with their deeper needs and emotions. They might chase one experience after another without ever pausing to ask themselves what truly matters. True psychological growth, Jung said, comes when extroverts learn to balance their outward focus with moments of inner reflection. In relationships, extroverts are often warm, open, and expressive. They find joy in sharing experiences with others, and they are usually quick to build connections. However, their need for external stimulation can sometimes make them impatient with introverted partners or friends who prefer a slower, quieter pace. Understanding this difference can help extroverts build more empathetic and balanced relationships. In the world of work, extroverts often thrive in dynamic environments. They excel in roles that require teamwork, communication, leadership, and fast-paced problem-solving. They bring energy, enthusiasm, and a strong action orientation to projects. They are often the ones who inspire, motivate, and drive groups toward achieving common goals. Carl Jung's view of extroversion shows us that being outward-focused is not about seeking attention for its own sake. It is about how a person naturally relates to life. Extroverts remind us of the importance of action, connection, and engagement. They help move ideas from imagination into reality, and they breathe life into groups and communities with their energy. Understanding what makes an extrovert goes beyond labels. It's about appreciating a rich, dynamic approach to life that values experience, communication, and external achievements. Introverts and extroverts do not just behave differently, they think differently at the very core of their being. Carl Jung believed that the way our mind processes information is deeply influenced by whether we are introverted or extroverted. It shapes how we see the world, how we make decisions, and even how we define happiness and success. Introverts, according to Jung, process thoughts internally. Their mind is like a private garden where ideas are carefully planted, nurtured, and allowed to grow before they are shared. They often think deeply before they speak or act. Reflection is their natural state. They ask themselves questions like, "What does this mean to me?" Or, "How does this align with my values?" Their thinking moves from the inside out, starting with an inner sense of meaning and then slowly reaching outward if needed. An introvert's thoughts are often layered and complex. They are comfortable sitting with uncertainty and exploring many possibilities internally before committing to one path. Their thinking is slower on the outside but much richer on the inside. Because they spend more time analyzing, they often develop profound insights and creative ideas that others might miss. However, this inner processing also means that introverts can sometimes appear distant or hesitant, especially in fast-moving situations. Extroverts, on the other hand, process thoughts externally. Their mind works best through interaction with the outside world. Talking, acting, and engaging with others helps them think clearly. Jung noticed that for extroverts, speaking and thinking are closely connected. They often figure out what they believe by discussing it with others. Their questions are usually outward-focused, like, "What's happening out there?" or "How can I make an impact?" Extroverts' thinking tends to be quicker and more visible. They prefer to tackle problems by acting first and adjusting as they go, trusting their instincts and experiences to guide them. They are energized by external stimulation, conversation, new challenges, immediate feedback, and often make decisions based on what seems effective or practical at the moment. Because of this, they are often perceived as more decisive and action-oriented. These differences in thinking styles can lead to misunderstandings. An introvert may view an extrovert as reckless or shallow because of their quick decisions and outward energy. Meanwhile, an extrovert might see an introvert as overly cautious or disconnected from reality. But in truth, each style has its own wisdom. Introverts bring depth, foresight, and careful consideration. Extroverts bring momentum, adaptability, and practical results. In problem-solving situations, these differences become even more visible. An introvert is likely to want time alone to reflect deeply before offering a solution. They may seek to understand the root causes, the hidden patterns, and the long-term consequences. An extrovert, in contrast, prefers brainstorming sessions, open discussions, and quick experiments to find what works right now. They thrive in environments where ideas are exchanged rapidly and immediate action is encouraged. Jung believed that the way introverts and extroverts think is tied to their dominant psychological functions: sensing, intuition, thinking, and feeling. An introverted thinker, for example, will develop highly personal and logical systems inside their mind before ever sharing them. An extroverted thinker will apply logic directly to the outside world, creating structures, strategies, and solutions that others can see and use. Similarly, an introverted feeler builds their values privately, guided by an inner emotional compass that few people ever see directly. An extroverted feeler, on the other hand, expresses care and empathy openly, organizing social harmony in visible ways. Understanding these fundamental differences helps us appreciate the strengths of each type. Introverts offer the world depth, originality, and thoughtful analysis. Extroverts offer energy, connection, and the power of action. Both are needed. In fact, many of the best teams, relationships, and communities are built by combining these different styles, balancing inner reflection with outer engagement. Jung's insight reminds us that neither way of thinking is superior. Instead, They are two complementary approaches to life's challenges. Real growth happens when we learn to respect these differences, both in ourselves and in others. Introverts can benefit by occasionally stepping into action sooner, while extroverts can gain by pausing for deeper reflection. In a world that often rewards quick action and loud voices, understanding how introverts and extroverts think differently allows us to create space for both quiet wisdom and dynamic energy. It teaches us to listen more deeply, act more thoughtfully, and appreciate the full spectrum of human intelligence. Imagine a young woman named Sarah. She is a classic example of an introvert personality, as Carl Jung described. Sarah enjoys her own company. She loves reading books, painting quietly in her room, and going on long, solitary walks. She doesn't dislike people, but she often feels drained after large social gatherings and needs time alone to regain her energy. When Sarah enters a room full of people, she doesn't rush to introduce herself to everyone. Instead, she quietly observes the environment, taking in the mood and the small details that others might overlook. She might find one or two people she feels a natural connection with and have a deep conversation rather than floating from group to group, making small talk. For Sarah, depth is more important than breadth. She seeks meaningful connections, not just social interaction for its own sake. At work, Sarah prefers tasks that allow her to think independently and focus deeply. She is a researcher at a small firm, spending most of her day reading, analyzing information, and creating thoughtful reports. She feels most productive when she can work quietly without interruptions. While her extroverted colleagues enjoy lively meetings and group brainstorming, Sarah shines when she is given time to process ideas on her own. Her work is known for its depth, precision, and creativity, qualities that come from her introverted way of thinking. When faced with a decision, Sarah does not act impulsively. She takes her time, weighing the options carefully, considering the long-term effects, and listening to her inner voice. This inward focus helps her make thoughtful choices that align with her true values. Her decisions may take longer, but they are often wise and well considered. Sarah's hobbies also reflect her introverted nature. She finds joy in activities that allow her to engage deeply with her inner world. Reading novels, journaling her thoughts, exploring art museums quietly, and practicing meditation are all things she loves. These solitary activities are not lonely for her. They are sources of nourishment and inspiration. In social settings, Sarah often feels misunderstood. People who do not know her well might think she is aloof or shy because she doesn't speak up immediately or seek attention. But those who take the time to know her realize that she is deeply thoughtful, empathetic, and wise. Her friends often come to her for advice because they trust her careful, honest, and non-judgmental way of seeing things. Sarah's inner life is rich and vibrant. She is deeply connected to her emotions, values, and dreams. Sometimes she feels overwhelmed by the noise and demands of the outer world, retreating into her private space to recharge. She finds strength not by being constantly active, but by being true to herself, nurturing her creativity and maintaining her emotional balance. Carl Jung would describe Sarah as someone whose dominant psychological energy flows inward. She does not seek meaning through external achievements or public recognition. Instead, her sense of purpose comes from her inner experiences, her personal growth, and her quiet contributions to the world. Her life is not about how loudly she lives, but about how deeply she lives. However, being an introvert is not without challenges. Sarah sometimes struggles in situations that demand quick responses or constant social interaction. She finds networking events tiring, and speaking up in large meetings doesn't come naturally to her. Over time, though, Sarah learns how to stretch her comfort zone while honoring her natural introverted strengths. She finds small ways to connect with others authentically without pretending to be someone she's not. Jung believed that a healthy introvert, like Sarah, must find a balance between their inner and outer worlds. Too much withdrawal can lead to isolation, while too much forcing into extroverted behaviors can cause stress. Sarah practices this balance by scheduling time for solitude, but also making space for important relationships and meaningful external activities. Through Sarah's example, we see that introversion is not about weakness or antisocial behavior. It is about having a rich inner world that offers insight, creativity, and emotional wisdom. It is about moving through life with thoughtfulness, authenticity, and quiet strength. Sarah shows us that introverts, when they embrace their true nature, bring a unique and powerful light to the world, one that is steady, deep, and profoundly needed in a noisy, fast-moving society. Jung's vision of the introvert is perfectly alive in real people like her, reflective souls who remind us all of the beauty found in depth, patience, and inner truth. Meet Alex, a perfect real-life example of an extrovert personality, just as Carl Jung explained. Alex is full of energy, especially when he's around people. He enjoys being at the center of activities, whether it's organizing a party, leading a meeting at work, or starting a spontaneous conversation with a stranger at a coffee shop. Interaction with the external world is what fuels him and keeps him alive. When Alex wakes up in the morning, his first thought is about who he's going to meet or what exciting activities the day will bring. For him, life happens outside. He rarely spends time reflecting deeply on inner emotions or thoughts unless he is discussing them with someone else. His ideas often come to life as he speaks them out loud, and the more he interacts, the more his mind sparks with energy and new possibilities. At work, Alex thrives in team settings. He is a project manager in a creative firm, leading groups of people, handling negotiations, and brainstorming new ideas with clients. He is quick to make decisions and loves fast-paced environments where action is rewarded. If a problem arises, Alex doesn't sit back and analyze it endlessly. He dives right in, talks to people, gathers opinions, and moves forward with a clear plan. His ability to energize and organize others makes him a natural leader. Unlike introverts who prefer solitary reflection, Alex processes information externally. When faced with a challenge, he prefers discussing it with colleagues, friends, or even casually with acquaintances. Through conversation and action, he clarifies his thoughts. His mind works dynamically, feeding off real-time feedback and responses from his environment. Jung noted this as a central feature of extroverted thinking. Energy and understanding flow from engagement with the outside world. Socially, Alex feels most alive when he's with others, going to concerts, attending big family gatherings, traveling with groups. These experiences recharge him. Solitude, on the other hand, feels draining after a while. Spending too much time alone leaves him restless, bored, and searching for new stimulation. Being alone is something Alex tolerates only in short doses before he needs to reconnect with the outer world. When Alex makes decisions, he trusts what he can observe and experience. He values visible results, practical solutions, and real-world achievements. While he respects ideas and theories, he is far more interested in what works in practice rather than getting lost in endless abstract discussions. His focus is action-oriented, moving toward visible progress and concrete goals. In relationships, Alex is warm, open, and expressive. He makes new friends easily, brings people together, and thrives in group settings. His emotional expressions are often clear and straightforward. If he likes you, you'll know it. If he's upset, he'll tell you directly rather than keeping it hidden. His outward focus makes him attentive to others' needs, although sometimes he might miss subtle emotional undercurrents that a more inward-focused person would notice. However, being an extrovert is not without its challenges. Alex sometimes acts too quickly without fully considering the deeper implications of his choices. He might jump into commitments, projects, or relationships with great enthusiasm, only to later realize he overlooked important details. Jung warned that extroverts, if they focus too much on external matters, can lose touch with their inner emotional and spiritual life. Recognizing this, Alex has learned to build small pauses into his busy life. Though it's not his natural tendency, he practices taking short breaks to reflect before making major decisions. He tries to ask himself questions like, "Is this truly what I want?" Or, "How does this fit into my bigger purpose?" This inward turn, though brief, helps him stay balanced and grounded while still honoring his natural extroverted spirit. Through Alex, we see the vibrant energy and outward momentum that define the extrovert personality. His enthusiasm spreads to those around him. His courage to act, willingness to take risks, and love for connection bring life and movement to his community. He reminds us of the importance of engagement, optimism, and trusting the flow of life. Carl Jung's theory of extroversion beautifully comes alive in people like Alex. They are the ones who light up a room, initiate new adventures, and build the bridges that connect people and ideas. In a world that sometimes struggles with isolation, extroverts like Alex remind us that joy, progress, and human connection are powerful forces for good. By understanding the life of someone like Alex, we appreciate the true essence of extroversion. Not just loudness or activity, but a genuine and natural drive toward connection, action, and making the outside world a more exciting place to be. Carl Jung believed that while many people lean toward introversion or extroversion, no one is purely one or the other. In fact, he suggested that a healthy person must find a balance between these two energies. This balance is what many today call the ambivert, someone who shows traits of both introversion and extroversion depending on the situation. An ambivert can enjoy the depth of solitude and the excitement of social interaction. They are flexible, able to shift between inner reflection and outer engagement as needed. Sometimes they crave deep, meaningful conversations. Other times they enjoy lively group activities without feeling overwhelmed. For them, neither world, inner nor outer, feels like a prison or an escape. Both are natural spaces for growth and expression. Imagine someone like Daniel. He works as a consultant where he needs to lead meetings, talk to clients, and build professional relationships. His extroverted side helps him communicate clearly, think on his feet, and energize a room. But after a busy week of meetings, Daniel often spends his weekends alone, reading, hiking, and reflecting. His introverted side needs this time to recharge and realign with his inner self. Jung taught that both introversion and extroversion are essential parts of the human psyche. Relying too heavily on only one side can cause imbalance. For instance, an extreme introvert may become isolated, losing the ability to relate to others or take action in the world. An extreme extrovert may become too dependent on outside validation, losing touch with their inner values and emotions. Ambiverts represent a kind of natural balance. They can think deeply like introverts, but also act boldly like extroverts. They are able to adapt their approach based on what the moment calls for. This adaptability often makes ambiverts skilled leaders, communicators, and friends. They can connect with both introverts and extroverts because they understand both ways of experiencing life. In daily life, ambiverts show their balance in many ways. In a lively group discussion, they might enjoy being part of the energy but know when to step back and listen carefully. When making a decision, they might gather external advice like an extrovert, but also reflect privately like an introvert before choosing their path. Their strength lies in their ability to move between reflection and action, without being trapped in either extreme. However, being an ambivert is not about being average or halfway between two types. It's about having the emotional intelligence to know when to turn inward and when to reach outward. It's about staying true to both your personal needs and your social environment without losing yourself in either. Carl Jung believed that psychological growth, or individuation, involves integrating different parts of our personality into a unified whole. For an introvert, this might mean learning to step into action and share their gifts with the world. For an extrovert, it might mean slowing down and turning inward to discover deeper meaning. In a way, becoming more ambiverted over time is part of healthy psychological development. Sometimes life forces us to stretch beyond our natural preferences. A shy person might have to give a public speech. A social butterfly might have to spend weeks working alone. Those challenges, though uncomfortable, help us develop parts of ourselves that would otherwise stay dormant. Jung encouraged this kind of inner work, not to change who we are, but to become more whole. In today's fast-changing world, being flexible like an ambivert is a major strength. It allows us to succeed in different environments, connect with different kinds of people, and navigate the complex demands of modern life. Whether it's collaborating in a team, leading a quiet creative project, networking at an event, or reflecting on personal goals, ambiverts have the tools to do it all. Recognizing the ambivert within us helps us understand that personality is not a rigid box. It's a living, evolving energy that can flow in different directions as we grow. We are not limited to being only introverted or only extroverted. We are human beings, capable of both deep solitude and joyful connection, thoughtful reflection and bold action. In Jung's vision, true psychological maturity is not about choosing one side forever. It's about honoring the richness of both the inner world and the outer world, finding harmony between them, and allowing each side to enrich and strengthen the other. The ambivert spirit shows us that life is not about extremes. It's about balance. In today's fast-moving world, where we're constantly interacting, performing, and adapting, understanding Carl Jung's personality types, introvert and extrovert, is more important than ever. These aren't just psychological labels. They are deep insights into how human beings think, feel, and behave. When we understand these differences, we not only improve our relationships and self-awareness, but we also grow into more balanced, empathetic, and authentic people. Jung's theory teaches us that personality is rooted in the way our energy flows. Introverts draw energy from within, from thoughts, emotions, and quiet spaces. Extroverts, on the other hand, gain energy from the external world, through people, activity, and action. This isn't about being shy or outgoing. It's about how you recharge, where you focus your attention, and what gives your life meaning. Understanding this can help us in countless areas of life. In personal relationships, for example, many misunderstandings happen because we assume everyone processes life the same way we do. An extroverted partner may want to talk after a long day, while their introverted spouse may just need silence and space. If we understand these differences instead of taking them personally, we can be more patient, compassionate, and supportive. In the workplace, Jung's personality types can transform how teams function. Introverts may thrive in roles that require deep thinking, analysis, and creativity in solitude. Extroverts might excel in positions that involve people, communication, and quick decision-making. When a company recognizes this, it can assign roles more wisely and support everyone's strengths instead of forcing people into uncomfortable molds. On a personal level, Jung's theory encourages us to know ourselves more deeply. When we understand whether we naturally lean toward introversion or extroversion, we begin to recognize what energizes us and what drains us. This knowledge is powerful. It helps us make better life choices, such as how to structure our days, who we spend time with, what kind of work we do, and even how we handle conflict or celebrate success. But Jung didn't stop at labeling people. He believed that psychological growth, what he called individuation, involves integrating the opposite side of our personality. That means the introvert learning to engage with the world more actively, and the extrovert learning to reflect and turn inward. This process makes us more whole, balanced, and capable of handling life's many demands. This is especially meaningful today. We live in a culture that often favors extroverted behavior, being loud, visible, social, and constantly on. Introverts may feel pressured to fake extroversion, leading to stress, burnout, or a loss of identity. On the flip side, extroverts may never learn the power of stillness, reflection, or inner peace. By understanding and honoring both sides of Jung's spectrum, we can resist the pressure to conform and instead live more authentically. It also helps us raise children more wisely. If a child is introverted, pushing them to constantly socialize or perform might harm their confidence. If a child is extroverted, constantly telling them to calm down or be quiet might crush their spirit. When we understand these natural tendencies, we can nurture each child in a way that helps them grow into confident, emotionally intelligent adults. In social situations, recognizing Jung's types can reduce judgment. Instead of labeling someone as too quiet or too loud, we start asking more meaningful questions. What kind of energy does this person carry? What do they need to feel safe, seen, and supported? We begin to appreciate the deep thinker who speaks only when necessary, just as much as we admire the passionate leader who lights up every room. In short, Jung's theory helps us understand that people are different, not because something is wrong, but because human nature is beautifully diverse. We each have a unique way of engaging with the world. The more we understand that, the more peaceful and accepting our communities can become. Finally, understanding Jung's personality types invites us to go beyond surface behavior. It urges us to explore the unseen layers of ourselves and others, the motives, the fears, the needs behind each action. In doing so, we develop a deeper empathy and a wiser way of living. We don't have to choose between being social or solitary, loud or quiet, fast or reflective. We can be both in different moments, with intention and self-awareness. Jung showed us that personality is not fixed. It evolves as we grow, stretch, and integrate different parts of ourselves. That's the true power of understanding introversion and extroversion. It's not just about knowing who we are, it's about becoming who we're meant to be.